This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So today we are going to speak about CACD. So as a part of CACD, first we are going to start version control systems, ECS or SCM or code repositories. These are all similar names. Okay. So once we finish version control systems, then we start build tool. We are going to take one open source Java application. I am going to show how you can build it, how you can run it from your system. Okay, how you can conduct test cases. And once after that, we are going to create CI/CD pipelines with Jenkins. This is our agenda. Okay, now first we are going to speak about what is the need of version control systems. Now, if you look at this diagram, yesterday we many times we have learned this diagram, right? This is actually software development lifecycle DevOps flow. So before any other phase is started in DevOps lifecycle, first developers will come into picture. They are going to write code, and not only single developer work for a project, multiple developers will be working for your projects. Okay, and at the end of the day, every developer need to submit their code into a area called source code management system. Here the capability of source code management system is, okay, it has to maintain history of every developer, like every developer name, email, when he has submitted, okay, what he has submitted, how many versions he has submitted. That kind of complete history must be known to, okay, source code management system. That is a capability. That is a capability must be provided to version control systems or source code management system. Okay, now every source code management system need to maintain history of code and developers. Okay, like name, date of submission of the code, versions, okay, etc. Okay, yeah, this is a capability must be provided, must be there for version control system. Now, when it comes to version control systems are two types. What are they? One is centralized version control system. Presently, we are not using this. Okay, centralized version control system. Under centralized version control system, we have something like subversion. In the olden days, people were using subversion, and nowadays, no one is using centralized version control systems. And another category is there. This is distributed. This is very powerful. Nowadays, every industry is using distributed version control systems only. So under this category, okay, we are going to speak about Git. Okay, this is our agenda. This is our tool that we discuss. Why Git is popular? Okay, that is a different story. There we are going to discuss. So under distributed version control systems, we have Git and Azure repos. Okay, and Bitbucket. These are the popular version control systems. Azure repos. This is from Microsoft. Microsoft has also come up with pipelines, right? Okay. So my Azure DevOps is going to use Azure repos as a version control system. Of course, you can integrate Azure pipelines with other Git other version control systems also, but the built-in version control system for Azure DevOps is Azure repos. Now we have to understand what exactly the difference between centralized version control system and distributed version control system. So for this, let us open paintbrush. Just imagine here 4 developers are working for a project. This is only a simple example, and assume that this is something like e-commerce application. E-commerce application. Okay, so we all know that e-commerce application is not a single application, so it is a combination of many microservices. Nowadays people are using microservices, right? Microservices, for deploying microservices, people are using containers. Okay, now suppose, so this first developer is working on some feature like database feature, and suppose the second developer is working like UI, and this third developer is working something like middleware, and this developer is working something like cache modules. Okay, these are the individual developer systems, and we have one centralized server here. Server clipart. Assume that this is centralized server, and to manage this server, okay, a administrator will be there. At the end of the day, every developer work will be submitted to this centralized server. Okay, this is going to be happen in centralized version control systems. Now this is centralized server, and to maintain this server, a administrator will be appointed. So his responsibility is every 1 hour, every 2 hours is going to take backup of the code. Backup of the code. Okay. And just imagine that on one morning, on one day, due to some disaster or due to administrator problem, okay, so he has forgotten to take the backup and the system is completely collapsed. Then what happens here? All my developers efforts are wasted, right? Because there is only one copy that is available in centralized server. So this is nothing but what? Single point of failure. Single point of failure. Single point of failure, because there is only one server. All developers work is there in centralized server. So if the centralized server completely collapsed, what happens here? All my developers code is collapsed. This is a major drawback of centralized version control system. Okay, now to avoid this kind of problem, what happens here? So in the next generation, people have started using distributed version control system. So in the distributed version control system also, okay, the process is similar but a little bit different. Okay, let me explain how it is different. Here also there is one centralized server, but here these are developer systems, right? Developer 1 is responsible for managing DB modules, and developer 2 is managing UI modules, user interface, and he is responsible for managing middleware modules. He is a developer 3, and he is managing catch 3. Okay, yeah, he is a developer 4. Now every developer, apart from centralized server, every developer will also have one local copy. Local repository will also be there. Okay, so in a distributed version control system, they are not going to submit their code directly to the centralized server. Before they are going to submit code into this centralized server, they are going to submit to local copy, local system. This one is going to be happen. From there, okay, the code will come to centralized server. Okay, now whatever copies that are managed with that are there with every developer, this is called as what? Local copies, or this is also called as local repository. Repository is nothing but, okay, it is a folder, okay, which is having all the capabilities of version control systems. Okay, a repository is nothing but it is a folder with some additional features like maintaining history, maintaining developer name, email address, versions, everything will be there. Okay, with local repository. So every developer will also have local repository. That means here we have two copies of the code. So if by chance if centralized server is collapsed, every developer is having their own copy, right? Centralized server. So this is the arrangement that I have done in distributed version control systems. Now, here the major difference between this local repository and centralized repository. This is centralized repository, right? Okay. So since we are using centralized server, this is called as something like GitHub. GitHub is nothing but remote server. remote server that is managed by a third party organization. Okay, we don't manage it. Now, since we have two copies of the code, every time, so if local copy is gone, we can collect code from central server. If centralized server is lost, we can have code from local repository. Okay, here the major difference between local repository and centralized repository is local repository will have only a specific developer code, and it cannot be used for sharing the code across multiple developers. And when it comes to centralized server, it is having only one extra capacity. It is having only one extra capability. Okay, that is used to share code share code across multiple developers. Means developer one can use see developer 2, developer 3, developer 4 code. That means one developer can see other developers code. Okay, so if developer 1 permits, otherwise the code can be private. Otherwise the code can be private. Okay, now, so another important thing we have to know. Let me save this document. Right. And one more important thing you have to understand. So this is a server which is managed by a third party organization. But my company is not liking this idea, because if I keep my all my code in a third party server, there is a chance of exposing the code. There may be chance of hijacking the code. I don't want to trust any third party people. I don't want to trust any third party people. So for that reason, okay, what I can do, I can host this uh, centralized server in my office organization only. In my office organization, that is called as hosted, okay, remote server. That means I will not allow my code to be traveled to outside servers. So even remote server also I want to manage, okay, by my organization people. So for that you have to have one server. Within that server you have to install either Gitolite, Bitbucket kind of softwares. So if you don't allow your code to be traveled outside, and if you don't want your code to be stored in outside servers that is managed by third party people. Okay, so this is called as hosted remote server, hosted GitHub. When it comes to GitHub, Gitolite, or you can say hosted remote servers. Now, so we have spoken about the three version control systems, right? Git, Azure Repos, Bitbucket. Out of all these, why Git is very popular? Of course, Git is acquired by Microsoft. Okay, so internally, Azure Microsoft organization is using Git in the background. Okay, so here when it comes to Git advantages, so it is user friendly. Second one is what? It is open source. What do you mean by open source, guys? The code is available in GitHub. You can take the code, you can customize according to your requirements. And one more popular reason why Git has become that much popular. So how many of you knows this person, guys? Linus Torvald. Do you know this guy? Who is this person? Can anyone say? Who is this person? Linus Torvald. He is the person who developed Linux operating system, Linux kernel. Okay. Since Linux is very popular, so Git has also become very popular because here Linux is very secure one, right? Most of the organizations now are using Linux operating systems because Linux operating systems are very secure when compared to Windows operating systems. Okay, so since Git is developed by Linus Torvald, who is a famous person who developed Linux kernel, since it has come from same developer, most of the people are trusting Git. Okay, yeah, these are the three popular reasons why people are using Git mostly. Guys, till this point, is everything clear?
Yep.
Okay. Now, so you can install Git on any operating system like Windows, Mac, or Linux operating systems also. Installation is very easy. But before that, you have to understand one thing. Okay. So on Windows platform, you have a software called Chaco. Okay, what is Chaco, guys? Chaco is a package management tool. Okay, that installs or uninstalls software packages on Windows operating systems. So these many days, if you want to install a software directly, we are jumping into Google and we are downloading a file and we are installing manually. But as a DevOps engineer, you should not do that because that is completely manual approach. As a DevOps engineer, you have to minimize as much as the usage of UI, because whatever activities you are doing from UI cannot be automated. For every activity, you have to write the commands. You have to write. You have to do it from CLI. Okay, and like in other operating systems like Linux, we have apt or apt-get m. In Windows also, we have a package manager command called Chaco. Okay, so once you set up Chaco, using Chaco, you can install softwares in single shot. Means Chaco can download a software, it can install softwares in single shot. But if you want to do it in manual way, first of all, you have to download it, you have to install it, you have to set the path. 3 steps. So Chaco can do 3 steps for us. Chaco setting up is only one time job. Okay. So how to set up Chaco? It is very simple, guys. Launch PowerShell in admin mode. How to launch it in and execute the following. You need not to know PowerShell here. Blindly you have to execute one script and execute the following PowerShell script. Chaco installation on Windows. Very simple script you have to execute, but you have to execute it from this is a script you have to execute. I am giving in the notes also. Simply open PowerShell. PowerShell in admin mode. Don't forget to open this PowerShell in admin mode. Run as administrator. and you simply run the script. Done. Okay. So close the PowerShell, because in Windows immediate reflections are not taken place. You have to close and relaunch it. PowerShell, again admin mode, and check Chaco version. Done, right? Now using Chaco, you can install now any software in the easiest way. Chaco Git. Just ask like this, and you will be redirected to one page. And just you need to install one simple command here. What is that command you have to execute command, guys? Here, this is a very simple command. Okay, so it is having three tabs, right? Install, upgrade, uninstall. Okay, now I want to install it. Close and relaunch PowerShell window and execute Chaco version. Third one is what? Install Git using Chaco. And for that also launch PowerShell in admin mode. So these are command. To avoid questioning, use Chaco install git -y. So if you don't include -y, what happens here? It is going to ask unnecessary questions, like whether you want to install this dependency, that dependency, it requires this much space. Unnecessary questions will be prompted. To avoid that kind of unnecessary questions, okay, at last you have to include -y. Right? It is done. It is telling that already you have Git, and close this window, relaunch it. As administrator, now say git version. It is installed. Happily you can use Git in your system. I hope everyone is using Windows, right? Any one of you are using Mac? No, right? Okay. Same story here. Close and relaunch PowerShell admin window and execute git version. Our Git software is ready. Git you can also use like interface to connect to Linux virtual machines in the cloud, and you can also use it as version control system. Both you can use both for both purposes. You can use Git. Now, once my Git software is installed, so our next step is what? Once we set up Git, we have to create local repository. What is the local repository, guys? It is nothing but a folder with, okay, versioning features, like this folder is going to remember code versions, history, okay, for every code it is going to remember version number. That kind of capabilities will be added to our local folder. But how to create it? So to create our local repository, create any one folder in your local or virtual machine. It can be local machine or your virtual machine. Okay. Open Git bash from there. Very simple, guys. Go to E drive. Okay, and create just one folder. Simple folder. Guys, you have to remember this because I have other batches I could not remember. I am creating this in E drive. E drive in my folder, in my local laptop folder. I am giving Git 07 June 7 a.m. IST. This is a folder name. Just double click it, right click, and once you install Git, it will show this option. Once again, I am showing, right click, show more options. Okay, since I am using Windows 11, so it will be under show more options. If you are using Windows 10, okay, so this show more option may or may not come. Directly it will be appeared over there, and select Git bash here. And from here we have to execute one simple command. What is that command? We have to execute git init. Done. Okay, your local repository is created. And if you look at this ls-al, this is a Linux command which is going to display all hidden files. Are you seeing something like a .git folder is created? Don't mess up with this folder because this is very important folder. Okay, which is used by Git to maintain histories, to maintain developers information, and it is having some other folders. Don't do anything here. Just come out from this. Okay, and one more thing, you have to install Visual Studio Code software also. That I have forgotten to tell. I think for Dilip, you don't know this. Okay, for others, they are knowing this one because Dilip, today you have joined, right? You have to install one more software.
Yeah, sure.
Install Visual Studio Code. It is very beautiful editor. Okay, for .NET and for other application is going to write. It is going to give help. Okay, in writing code, in writing everything. Code using Chaco. Chaco Visual Studio Code. A very simple command. Last include -y. Same from PowerShell. Execute this command. I don't execute it because already my system is having Visual Studio Code. Same from PowerShell. And once you install it, you must see this one Visual Studio Code. And from this Git bash, execute code dot. This is to invoke Visual Studio Code editor. Okay, minimize it. This is your working folder, local repository of Git. Right. Now, almost we did everything. And one last thing we have to do. Set up username and email. Without this, Git is going to tell that I don't know who you are. When you submit work to your local repository, simply it will say that I don't know who you are. First, set username and email. Okay, it will give a warning to you. So how to set username and password? Yes, username and email. So for every command there is a cheat sheet. You no need to remember even single command. Git cheat sheet. Don't remember even single command. Okay, just download this and paste it on your table and start working doing this. Just are you seeing download? Download it.
Shiva, quick question.
Yes,
Is the Visual Studio code same as the Visual Studio IDE that we use for the C Sharp and all, Visual Basic and all that? Is it the same?
that is Visual Studio 2022 is different. Visual Studio Code is different. Visual Studio 2022 or some other version that is for writing ASP.NET and C Sharp applications. And Visual
Okay.
Studio, in Visual Studio Code also you can write the code, but especially Visual Studio 2022 is designed for writing .NET applications.
Okay. So this is like lightweight uh, code.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And how to set username and email? Yeah, these are the two commands. Guys, once again I am telling, don't remember any commands. Even in organization also, for everything you will be provided documentation. So this is a command. Git config -- global user.name. Now this is a username. I am giving my name. In your system, give you your name. So this is okay. First I am going to set this username. Copy this and go to Git bash and execute it. Done. Okay. So next thing is set username, email. Right. Okay. My username and email are set. Next one important thing you have to understand here. What is that means? Before you are going to work with Git, okay, as a DevOps engineer or as a developer, you have to understand Git workflow, Git high level architecture, Git architecture or Git flow. Now, the moment you create local repository, what happens here? Three components, three areas are created. Okay. So what are the three areas here? Here this is, we are going to call it as working tree, where developers will write the code. Okay. One important thing I have to convey you. We are not developers. We are not going to write any code. Code is given by developers. Okay. Just to simulate code, we are going to create some Python files. Just we are going to write something like text files. but it is not actual code, but actual code is given by your developers. So here the first area of Git is what? Working tree. Okay, here developers write code, and the second area of Git is what? This is nothing but staging area. Third area of Git is what? This is local repository. So these three components are created when you create local repository. So these are there in your local machine. These are the three components, and one more component is there. This is remote repository. This is remote repository. So in our case, this is also called as GitHub. GitHub is different, guys. Git is different. Git means our local machine. GitHub means a remote server. And this remote repository can be like GitHub, or it is something like AWS remote repository. Okay, and this can be Bitbucket, or this can be Azure repos, or this can be AWS code repository. Okay, so from one box to another box, and we have one more area in here. This is fourth area. This is also very important, but most of the developer don't know about this area. Okay, this is something like stash. When we use stash, there is a detailed discussion there we are going to discuss. Okay, these are the four areas that are created in your local machine. Now, let me save this. So this is a remote repository. This is managed by third-party organizations, or you can have hosted Git repository also. Just now we have discussed about hosted repository, right? This can be managed by same organization, or this can be managed by a third-party people. Third-party or same organization. From where you are from where developers are writing the code. Now, what I will do, this is my Visual Studio Code editor. Here, this is my local repository, right? I will create one simple file. This is something like 1.py. Assume that this is a code written by your developers. Yes, since we are not developers, we don't know any coding part. Okay, we have to assume that these are code given by your developers. So just I am writing one line here. This is a functionality, okay, for our login page. Now, if you go to Git repository, Git, and execute a small command called Git status. What is that? Just look at that status. Untracked file 1.py is created. Untracked area means this is working tree. Here we have a file 1.py. 1.py. So this is also called as untracked file. Why untracked file? We will discuss. Untracked file, and this area is also called as untracked file only, not untracked area. Now I want to submit this file to my local repository. Before that, you have to submit it to staging area. So to submit it to staging area, we have to use something like git add 1.py. Now let us see. I will execute this command git add 1.py. Now immediately execute git status command. The color is changed here. See, the color is changed from red to green. Now my file is available in second area, staged area. So from here, I want to move this file to my local repository. So when you submit this file to local repository, versioning will be started. Versioning will be started. Git commit -m. Okay, so this is my first commit. The first commit you can give any message. Now just have a look here. Git commit -m. First commit. First commit what I did? Created one.py. Okay. So you have to execute git commit command after you set username and email. Otherwise, it does not permit you to commit the changes to local repository. That is very important thing. Now, if you execute git log command, see what happens here. What it is showing? It is showing many important things, right? Just have a look of this. Have a look here. So this is the output generated by git log. This is commit ID. And this is author name. Just now we have set, right? Author name is developer. This is the date and time of the submission of the code. Plus 5:30 means, okay, it is India time. And this is my commit message. Commit message. Now, what I will do, I will add some more line, one more line to this. This is added later. Now go to this one, git log, sorry, git status. Are you seeing modified 1.py? Now once again execute git add 1.py and once again execute git commit -m. This is second commit. The second commit what I did, modified 1.py. Now if you execute git log command, are you seeing two commits are there? This is very latest commit. This is done at 7:53 and this is done at 7:51 and now this is a commit code. But how my git is going to remember, okay, each and every commit message? That is very interesting, guys. So git is going to remember each and every version, each and every message, okay, by calculating hash code. Okay, I think how many of you knowing about hash algorithm? So if I show something like this, SHA-1 algorithm online.com. So for every message, okay, one unique code is generated here. Suppose here I will give something like this. Good morning. generate hash. So this is a hash code, right? That means for good morning, this is a hash message. Just imagine that for my first line, this is a functionality for our login page. This is a commit. This is a commit code that Git has calculated. Okay, internally it is also using one kind of algorithm. And suppose here I change good evening. See, look at this. For the good morning, this is a commit message. Good morning. So I changed message from good morning to good evening. And look at the commit message hash. Is it different or same? How it calculates, that is a different story. That is none of our business. Are the two commit messages, commit IDs are different or same, guys?
Different.
Just like this, Git is going to remember histories. Okay, so when I say, when I want to obtain good morning, okay, so you can go back to any version. Okay, how to go to a different version, how to go to a particular version, that we are going to learn soon, because this is the first class, right? In the first class itself, we cannot learn all the things. Okay, so like this, Git is going to remember history of every code by calculating hash algorithms, hash code. Is it interesting or not interesting, guys?
Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes. Now, what I will do, this is my latest code, right? In the latest code, 1.py is having two lines. 1.py is having two lines. This is a functionality for our login page. This is added later. Okay, so here my latest commit is what? Git log. Latest commit is what? This is the latest commit. Whatever commit it is showing first is the latest commit. And one more thing also you have to learn. Here, the moment you create a local repository, one branch is created here. So what is a branch? What is the need of creating branches? We will discuss later. One master branch is created. Always master branch. Always this commit message will be pointed by head. Head is nothing but it is a pointer which is looking at latest pointer. Latest commit message. Guys, till this point, is everything clear?
Yes.
Now,
A quick question, Shiva. So the folder that we created, local repository, if we create a subfolder under it, will Git track of all the untracked files under that folder as well, or we have to
yes,
configure those
yes,
folders? Okay.
yes. Now, I have moved everything to my local repository. Okay. Now, what I will do, I will do one more change in 1.py. Added some other functionality. And again, if you execute git status command, again it will show that modified 1.py. Okay. And if I execute git add command 1.py, it will be there in the changes will be promoted to staging area. But after that, I changed my mind. Okay, that still I wanted to do some modification. Modification is still not completed. I want to do modification still. Then you can revert back the file from staging area. You can revert the file back to my working tree. How you can do that in reverse? So he's giving a command right here, git restore file name. Simply you can execute. Now if you execute git status command, see, are you seeing something like git restore staged, something like this? Otherwise you can execute simply git restore. Okay, what is this staged we will discuss later. Just for now, execute git restore. Okay, 1.py. Now execute git status command. Sorry, where to use git staged, hyphen staged. Or there is one direct command is there. Restore. Staged 1.py. Now execute git status command. Are you seeing again it is there in 1.py? Staged means you are removing modifications. Okay, from staged area. What is staged area here? Staged area is second area. This area. I want to remove changes from work tree also. Okay. So if I give something like this, what happens? See, git restore hyphen work tree 1.py. Now look at the editor. The third line has gone. Changes are removed from staging area and working tree, both. First I remove the changes from staging area, then I remove the changes from work tree. Now as a developer, can I do everything as my requirement? So once you submit code into staging area, if you change the mode, that still have to change. You can move it back to working tree, and from working tree also, if you want to remove the changes completely, you can execute git restore hyphen work tree file name, and whatever changes you have done in working tree will also be removed. Guys, is the concept clear?
Yes.
When you say working tree will be removed, meaning it will be brought back to the file position will be brought
Git,
back to
what do you
whatever
say?
it was before.
Hmm?
What do you mean by working tree?
What is
The working tree, you said that it will be removed from the working tree.
working tree?
So,
Means this is the first area. Okay, where
okay,
developers will write the code. In the diagram I explained you, right? This is a working tree. This is the first area of Git. Here this is working tree. This is, you can consider that this is your Visual Studio Code editor.
okay, okay,
From there also the changes are removed.
okay, all right.
Guys, is everything clear today? Please do these activities, watch the video, and once or twice, and complete these activities. Create local repository, do some work, move your work to your local repository. Okay, I did not speak about remote repository. First, let us finish few sessions on these three areas. Then we will move to Git repository, remote repository.
Okay, Shiva, I have one question here.
Yes.
Yeah, Shiva, would you mind to tell us, as a DevOps engineer, like for example, I got a job as a DevOps engineer. Uh, how actually already we learn a lot of tools. I'm trying to understand that how it could be like our day-to-day operation, like first day at my workplace. Uh, what kind of what is the expectation from me actually? What I'm going to do the first day at my job?
That we are
Um,
going to discuss at the end of the course, because if I tell all these things in the very beginning day, okay, you are not
uh-huh.
going to understand anything. Okay, once
Oh,
you finish
okay.
Terraform also, I will discuss. Okay,
Mm. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
till
Thank you.
now, okay, you have learned these Docker files, right? Is it correct or not?
Yes, yes.
Docker files can also be moved to your Git. In
Oh,
Docker files,
okay.
did we have versions like version 1.0, 2.0,
Right,
3.0?
right.
Is it not versioning?
Yes, versioning, Docker function, then Kubernetes. We did the function versioning
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So can I move these three versions into my Git repository? Can I have three
Yes,
versions in Git repository?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So once you write Docker files, okay, and
Hmm.
I think you are also completed Ansible, right? In Ansible
Right.
also we have playbooks. Is it correct or not?
Yes, correct. Uh-huh.
And you can also move playbooks to your version control system.
Right. Uh-huh. Right.
Is the concept clear?
Yes, yes, concept clear. Right.
Yeah.
All of them we can do the version controlling. Right.
Yeah. Everything can be version controlled.
Right.
And a few soon we are going to learn Jenkins files. So Jenkins files can also be version controlled. Okay, what is a Jenkins files? You are not going to understand anything now. Okay, we will
Okay.
speak spoon. We are going to learn Jenkins soon. Okay, there we will be
Okay.
learning how to maintain versions for Jenkins files also. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got you. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
guys,
you.
thank you. I'm stopping the session. Dilip, yesterday I have shared recordings to you. Have you watched the recording?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah, I understand.
And for all other members, today you will get one new drive invitation. Okay, so within the drive only you are going to get recordings from today onwards. Okay,
Okay.
Kubernetes for another drive. Every time I start a new tool, you will get invitation. Okay, for opening a new drive.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. Tomorrow we meet again at the same time. Okay, thank you. Have a happy
Hey,
day.
Shiva,
Thanks, sure. Yeah, bye.
hello.
Yes.
Regarding that class, that graphical user using that Kubernetes, Tanvir, we talk about it. So we can do it on
Yeah.
Saturday
Yes.
morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything I uploaded.
No, the graphical one. You wanted to do an extra class on Saturday or Sunday. Remember
Mm-hmm.
yesterday? So we
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
it on we
But
can do it
you
on
are
Saturday
so
morning.
you told me that you are not coming. Okay, that we will discuss tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Okay.